We have this story from the Daily Mail. He would never do such a thing. Trump posts photo of Ron DeSantis as a teacher allegedly partying with high school girls as he ramps up attacks on Republican rival. You see, now I understand what's going on. Now I understand. Someone said to me, why is it that so much fighting is happening right now on the right? Why, the Steven Crowder Daily Wire thing was the biggest version of this. Now you have this. It's primary season for the GOP. Republicans are going to go to war. And then, you know what I really love about this is when Donald Trump called Ted Cruz lying Ted. And then afterwards, the Trump supporters called him Lion Ted, like roar lion. Like excellent 180-degree thing. Now that we've decided who's the alpha of the GOP and going to lead it, and it's Trump, now we can all set aside all our differences. So take a look at this image. Donald Trump says, no way. Dong Chan Lee says Ron DeSantis was having a drink party with students when he was a high school teacher. Having drinks with underage girls and cuddling with them certainly looks pretty gross and ephebophilia-esque. That's an interesting choice of word. That's a word. So
rolls right off the tongue.
Rolls right off the tongue. Is this real? Former President Trump posted this. Yeah, okay, we get it.
And he didn't really post it. He reshared something that someone else posted, right?
It.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know the technical lingo for your kids' school social medias. How
at
are we
this.
supposed to verify this? This is a blurred photo of people standing around in a cropped location from a guy who apparently wasn't there.
It doesn't even look like Ron DeSantis.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Does he have a brother? Like,
we were trying to decide whether to title the stream State of the Union Watch Party. I'm like, but it's not for an hour. It's like, well, I guess we'll go with Donald Trump accuses DeSantis of being a groomer. Look at this photo. Doesn't it break your heart? They used to be such good friends.
they used to be buddies.
Ephebophilia, by the way, is paraphilia characterized by sexual attraction to adolescents aged from 15 to 18. There's a word for it. Was that common, I guess, at some point. It looks like some Greek thing.
Crazy.
I just don't really get the outrage here because, this is Trump, right? This is who he is. He attacks the conservatives that we love. He's, for lack of a better word, a shitposter, and that's what people love him for. He's a fighter. So of course he's going to go after his competition, right? Who wouldn't?
Is that like a tactic? I mean, you don't have to reveal the secrecy of the campaigns, but would he be like, all right, this week we got to find somebody to go?
I mean, no, I don't think it's a traditional tactic in politics, right? You would never want your candidate to post something like this. But that's why Trump, I think, was able to be so successful because he's not your typical politician, right? He's able to kind of go outside of what the system has been doing for years and break out of it and be an outsider and a fighter. And that's why people like him, right? Because we talked about the price of eggs on this show. People are fired up and they want to see someone who's angry and taking punches.
But this isn't really like a strong punch from Trump, right? There's no corroborating evidence. It's like when he came out with the nickname Ron DeSanctimonious. Like, it's not as good as Lion Ted Cruz. You know what I mean? Like, this is... I am totally neutral in this battle, but this is not his best attack at Ron DeSantis, especially for people who feel strongly about these issues, right? Like grooming teenage girls is not a small accusation.
Right.
And I know he didn't post it himself, but to be like, well, I don't know, here's a blurred photo that no one can corroborate. Like it's not the fierce, ferocious social media using Donald Trump that people fell in love with. You know what I'm saying?
He still stirs the pot, though, right? That's always kind of been him. But yeah, I mean, the reality is we won't know anything until these two get on a debate stage. DeSantis hasn't even formally announced, so we don't want to jump the gun. There are a ton of people, that we thought going into 2016 would totally outshine Trump, and it wound up being the opposite. So until we get these guys going toe-to-toe on a debate stage in front of the American people, I think it's just too early to kind of cast ballots here.
That's a good point. We have this Twitter thread from Pedro L. Gonzalez, which I think is interesting, and I'd love to hear your rebuttal. He says, Trump, who is friends with Jeff Epstein, suggests DeSantis is a groomer. He will lose to Biden at this rate. His campaign is fundamentally unserious and based on his insecurities. Trump isn't driving the movement. He's just constantly reacting to and whining about DeSantis. The first thing I'll say to that, because there's a bigger thread here, is the Trump friends with Epstein thing is a nonsensical low blow. And it's just like, sure, but Donald Trump implying DeSantis is a groomer is also the same garbage. Is this what we have to look forward to? Because I think, interestingly, someone mentions in this thread, or it might be Pedro himself, is this the demeanor of a man? Or someone asks, does any of this actually matter if mass mail-in voting and universal mail-in voting is what determines the winner in the end? And then Pedro, I think, responds, is Trump the kind of guy who has the demeanor to actually stand up to this deeply corrupted machine and fix it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think, honestly, Pedro brings up a super accurate and needed point. Trump has completely deviated from what got him his win in 2016, right? He's totally abandoned, and he started to abandon that, messaging in 2020. He's abandoned the base in many ways. He's out there, he's pushing the vax. He's not talking about issues that matter to the American people. There's no build the wall, onshore jobs rhetoric that there was in 16. So we really have to, I think if the Trump campaign wants to get serious, it's time to buckle up and really bring back that, populist, economic nationalist message that was so popular in 16.
But if he's not, then maybe he's not the guy.
Right. But also maybe it's not too late. I mean...
It is early. It's very early.
I mean, campaigns can be won in the very end.
Remember that tweet where Donald Trump was smack talking Coke? Mm-hmm. And then what did he say? He said something, and then Coke got mad.
It's terrible, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'm still drinking this."
No, but that was a second one. He said something. Coke got mad, and then he said, "Coca-Cola's not very happy with me, but don't worry, I'll still keep drinking that garbage." Mm-hmm. That was funny. Yeah. Like, that was Trump. And then when he starts running for office, he brought that kind of energy of, like, it was a kind of raw honesty, I guess, where he wasn't sugarcoating it. Mm. He's not going to come out and just be like, I shouldn't have tweeted about Coca-Cola. I'm so sorry. I won't do it. No, he's like, that's garbage, but I'll drink it anyway. And everyone laughs like, this is good.
Because they can identify with that, right? There are so many people who know Coca-Cola has bad values. They know it's literally terrible for you, and they're like, but doesn't matter. I'll buy it tomorrow.
I went to, we were at the grocery store the other day, and I saw Pearl Milling Company breakfast syrup or whatever. Oh, okay. It used to be Aunt Jemima. Mm-hmm. And then on the bottle, it says, formerly Aunt Jemima, new name, same great taste. And I thought two things. One is, it still says Aunt Jemima on the bottle. I don't understand. They just
took her off.
Right.
They got rid of her, put the name still down on the bottom so you can still see it. You know what it is. And then the other funny thing was I turned it around and took a picture of the ingredients, and I'm like, same great recipe. And the recipe is high fructose corn syrup. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just total garbage.
It's not real maple syrup.
But that's a funny point. Like, everybody knows Coke is bad, but they can relate to it. Like, I'm drinking it anyway. No, but Trump called Rosie O'Donnell, what did he call her? A fat pig? Is that what he did?
Probably. It sounds like him.
Or he called Stormy Daniels horse face.
Yeah, I mean, he is like this weirdly vicious, like, elder man and middle school girl rolled into one when he's at his prime. And he's entertaining because he sets the tone, he sets the narrative. What bothers me about these kinds of posting is, like, it isn't shit posting. It's just sort of complaining and also maybe showing that you are afraid of Ron DeSantis, right? Like, it's not Trump telling it. When Trump decided that we were going to talk about border security in the country, he made it a part of his platform and he changed national politics, right? He made people focus on something they didn't want to talk about before. And that's not what's happening here. It's not that he couldn't do it. It's, why have you announced so early if you're not going to take command of the race?
Right. Yeah, and also, why is this still on Truth? Like, he should be on every platform pumping his content so it's reaching everybody. To just post stuff like this on Truth is stupid.
Didn't someone tell us he had a contract because the launch of Truth that he has to give them an exclusive for a certain amount of time or something?
Yeah, but I mean, like, so what? Like, break the contract, right? Are you serious about running and, like, saving the country?
That's why I don't know if Trump's the guy. I mean, he was. I mean, look, I liked him in 2020. His policy proposals, no CRT in government contracts was great. School choice. It seemed like his guys were really listening, and they were talking about culture war issues, but from an actual policy standpoint, like saying, hey, we're not going to allow critical race theory and gender ideology trainings in government contracts. They violate the law. It's a very academic and policy way of describing our opposition to weird wokeness stuff. Now, so I like that. In 2016, it was a little bit too wild for me, but I got proven wrong, I think, when things started getting better. He actually did a good job, despite the fact that he had the deep state, that he had these elements of the establishment weighing him down. I wonder how good things really would have gotten if he wasn't being bogged down by Russiagate and other fake garbage, and the impeachment, Ukrainegate, all lies, by the way. And so I'm like, this guy's got to get a clean shot. He's got to get a 2020. He's got to win, and then he's got to be given an opportunity. But now I'm not feeling it. I mean, not only does he not have the energy that made me laugh, he's not talking about the policy stuff either. It's like, you got to give me one or the other. I want both. Ron DeSantis, honestly, he gives me policy, but he's not a funny guy. I mean, I don't think Milo was wrong when he said he had the charisma of something off-putting, like when you reach to grab something and accidentally touch a wet sponge.
No.
It was very clever and funny of Milo to say. And I really do like Ron DeSantis in terms of his governorship and his policy, but he doesn't have that Trumpian energy.
No, I think his biggest selling point is that he has this all-American family, right? I mean, if you saw Casey DeSantis's second inauguration dress, you know what I'm talking about, the gold one?
Stunning.
Like, she is dressing like a first lady. Even some of her style choices reflect Melania Trump. They are presenting as this young professional, and also they've got the family, and she just went through breast cancer. They have this sort of relatable morality to their family that you would want to rally around. It's not that the Trump family is bad in any way, but it's similar. It reminds me, the comparisons to JFK are obvious because he also had the young family. Wasn't he the youngest president in the nation's history? I think Ron DeSantis evokes that idea that there's sort of a fresh of breath air.
Fresh of breath air.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Close enough.
Oh my gosh. A breath of fresh air in Republican politics that we haven't had, especially since we know our Republican leaders tend to be older. I'm not saying, this is not like me throwing my weight behind DeSantis, but I do think his appeal is very aesthetic. It's that he has these children, he has this classy wife that they're trying to sort of show he is one of many families in America.
You know, it was Teddy Roosevelt was the youngest person to ever become president after William McKinley was assassinated, but Kennedy was the youngest to get elected president. Up to, he was 43, and that's DeSantis' age at the moment.
Yeah.
I like what he did with Florida. That, I mean, all I'm looking at right now is the way that people got shut down, businesses got shut down, people lost their jobs, their livelihoods, had to wear dirty masks, send their kids to school with dirty masks. And DeSantis is just like, not in Florida, man. So that gives me hope that like you're gonna crap on the world, not in America, man. I get that vibe from Ron DeSantis, but he's still like untested on the global political stage, and I don't want us going into some dumb war because of emotions. I don't know him. I got to know him to know that, or at least watch him debate.
Neither one of them seem to have like a fire behind their campaign. When Trump initially announced the first time, there was no stopping what was happening, and I don't feel that this time, and I don't feel it from DeSantis either. To be fair, he hasn't announced.
We need a Donald Trump to stand up and give the middle finger to everybody once again. This is what people like. They liked that you might not have agreed with them. You might have actually said, ooh, that's a little rough. But you knew that if Donald Trump was going to sit down in front of Vladimir Putin, he was going to spit on the floor and say, F you. You're not getting it. He wasn't going to apologize and go on a tour around the world saying, I'm sorry. He was going to say, screw off, and if I have to, I'll blow you up. Not that he really would. You know, but but as Trump said, that 5% chance, you know, Vladimir Putin, this is the crazy thing. They talk about Russia and Ukraine, what provoked Russia. And I'm seeing these reports that a lot of it happened under Trump and because of Trump. And I'm like, gee, that's really weird that Vladimir Putin was being provoked and didn't attack. And it wasn't until Joe Biden got in that he started amassing troops on the border and preparing for an assault because he knew that Joe Biden was too weak to do anything about it. But Donald Trump's a scary dude. So when he goes up on stage in front of the American people and you're expecting someone to be terrified of cancel culture and censorship and the media, and he calls people fat pigs and horse face, I mean, I think a lot of Americans were like, that's the president.
That's the shock that puts him on the stage, but it's not a sustainable presidential method to be like, idiot, dumbass, horseface, stupid over there. Hey, don't forget, all right. He's still an idiot. He's still a dumbass. He's still a horseface.
Don't you think that's how the American public feels, though? They wish someone would say these
things?
At least say it maybe once if you think it, but he needs a mess. I mean, I'm obsessively thinking about graphene as we're talking. He needs a message about what are we going to do as people? How are we going to build this country better? He wants to do it, but how are we going to do it, Donald? I'm asking you specifically. I think if you get into graphene, man, and you totally understand that we can pull the carbon out of the air and become like world-leading industrialization, that you would do it. That you might win. You might actually win the presidency on that message. I offer you that.
That's what you were just saying, basically, Kingsley, that Trump needs to get back to that messaging of economic populism that people really liked.
Definitely, yeah. And to your point, Tim, just about how people love that he's that fighter and that middle finger in your face guy. I really think back to like the Michael Moore movie where he said, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And that's really what it's all about, I think, for a lot of the conservative base when it comes to Trump, right? We see that the FBI, the IRS, the mainstream media, all of these organizations that hate us, they hate Donald Trump, and he's who they fear the most. So I think for me, you know, he's my friend. That's my guy.
And not just that, you know, as much as in the past I've certainly been critical of Trump's over-the-top, brash demeanor, as it were, the American people knew that it wasn't directed at them. Yeah. That he was standing in front of the American people, the working class, looking at the establishment and the elites and saying it to their faces. People like Nancy Pelosi with her, what did she have, like $300, $400 worth of ice cream in her freezer or some ridiculous number she like showed off. She's like, look at all my ice cream, I have so much. And Donald Trump was, you got the American people looking at this deep corruption, Congress approval rating all-time lows. They don't care. They do this omnibus bill garbage, and then Donald Trump walks out of the crowd of elites and says, "All these people out here, y'all are right." Turns around, and gives them all the middle finger, and that feels good to have someone finally do that.
That was Chappelle's joke, right? He came out of the house and was like, "We're corrupt. I know because I benefit from it." But then he went back in, and America's still like, "That's the guy." I mean, I think it's undeniable that he has an amazing fan base in the American public, especially in states that feel like they weren't represented before. He needs to breathe life into his campaign, and I'm not sure trying to make a frenemy out of Ron DeSantis is the way to go.
Well, look, there's going to be a primary, so it's going to get dirty, and we'll see all the e-drama around. It's going to be interesting as we get more and more into a world of voters who grew up online. We're going to see more of this develop. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.